Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And the the title and topic of this, you've probably never heard it said that living in the now is helpful, but I do want to talk about it in a way that might be a little bit different to how you've heard it talked about. And it's in relation to why getting caught up in trying to fix and solve and resolve the past actually gets in the way of creating the future we most want to experience. So if you look at the number of modalities in psychology and the self-help world that attempt to control and address the content of our thinking, it's vast. And it includes TFT and EFT and EMDR and NLP and essentially, the idea there is that we can change our thinking by challenging it and restructuring it and reframing or disrupting the content of it and cognitive therapy and rational emotive therapy. And all these modalities work on the same idea, that if I can fix my thinking about, generally speaking, the past, then that will allow me, it will free me up to create a better future. And there's a lot of types of analysis and hypnosis and a lot of the somatic-based approaches to psychotherapy and self-help that try to address the content of our ongoing habitual, below the surface, unconscious thinking by using the body to heal, and we heal our traumas from the past, and we use hypnosis to access these deep thoughts from the past and release them. And here's the thing. Most of those modalities, in fact, all of them, sometimes bring about a sense of relief, and sometimes even more than relief, lasting positive change. But they are all by design dealing with thoughts that are already in form. In other words, things we have already thought. So we dig up the things we have already thought and try to fix them, improve them, get rid of them, make them better. Here's what I've seen in my work. The deeper power of thought is in seeing more about the fact that no matter how long we've been using our thinking to create unhappiness and limitation and amplify the difficulties in our lives, we can always think again now. When I was a kid, my mom used to tell these stories about the lady from Philadelphia, and I looked it up actually, and they were based on a series of novels about the Peterkin family. And the one I remember my mom always telling was about how I can't remember if it was the husband or the wife, they wanted to impress their new spouse by making them breakfast in bed, but they just kept getting everything wrong. And they finally went down the hallway to get the lady from Philadelphia to come and help. And, she said, well, what's the problem? And he said, well, okay, so I've made her this, I was trying to make her coffee, but I made it too weak, so then I added more coffee, but then it was too strong, so I added cream, but then it was too cold, and so then I heated it back up, but then it was too bitter, so then I added sugar, but then it was too sweet. What do I do? And she just looks at him, and she takes the pot of coffee and the cup of coffee, she pours it out, and she brews a fresh pot. And that's what is on offer for you, always. You don't have to go back and fix what is already happened and what you have already thought. If you burned the cookies, you can try to put frosting and sprinkles on them, but it's easier to just put a fresh batch of cookies in the oven. The oven is always on. The oven of consciousness is always on, and it will bake fresh cookies any time you get rid of, let go of the old ones. So Sid Banks, the Scottish mystic that I am perpetually quoting in these podcasts, he wrote about it in his book, The Missing Link. When Eastern mystics describe the now, they're not talking about today as a specific day of the month and year. Their meaning goes deeper. When such people refer to the now, they mean the personal mind is free from the contaminants of yesterday's memories and fears. This in turn frees the mind to see with clarity things as they are, not through distorted memories and apprehensions. Living in the now requires a clear mind. In clearing our minds, we may have to give up something to receive something. If you wanted to replace a glass of stale wine with fresh wine, first you must pour out the old wine. It is the same with clearing our minds of unwanted, stale thoughts. We must rid ourselves of yesterday's negative thoughts to receive today's new and positive feelings. I do not ask anyone to ignore their past experiences. This would be denial, and denial is not a healthy state. Instead, seek a clearer understanding of the past. Realize that the negative feelings and emotions from past traumatic experiences are no longer true. They are merely memories, a collection of old, stale thoughts. The intensity and importance of such events dissipates as we see that the past is no longer a reality, but a memory carried through time via our own thoughts. Deal not with conditions of the past, but look to the laws of cause and effect. See the effect and consequences thought has on our everyday lives. When your mind is full of negative thoughts, you automatically see and live in a negative reality. By the same rule, a mind centered on positive thoughts automatically lives in a far more pleasant reality. Let your negative thoughts go. They are nothing more than passing thoughts. You are then on your way to finding the peace of mind you seek, having healthier feelings for yourself and for others. This is simple logic. So for me, one of the things that was a real game changer was seeing that I didn't need to heal my past. I didn't need to deny my past. I didn't need to make up a better story about my past, because my past no longer exists, except as thoughts that I am thinking now. And I don't have to think anything, and I can always think again. Now, if you are moved to do some sort of a intervention or anything that to release stored thought from the past, please do. But if you think you have to do that in order to move forward with your life, I can tell you for a fact, you are much better made than that. There are essentially two things that make up the inside-out understanding, and the first is recognizing that we are living in an experience of thinking, not an experience of circumstances. And the second is that we are the intelligent energy of life in form, and we are made to thrive. And if you want to learn more about that, please do check out our free basic course at michaelneill.org/basic course. Have fun, learn heaps, happy exploring, and I'll talk with you soon.